Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is an update of the woman that was pretty much battered and pummeled during the Cincinnati brawl that we've had. Now, it's not a brawl. I would call this like an actual beatdown. And there's more information that's going to come out too. We have a little bit of information that what happened to the suspects. It's not like any of their past stuff, but what actually they've been charged for. So without further ado, let's get into this. So we have this here from the New York Post saying, gruesome photos show severely battered face of the woman knocked out during horrifying Cincinnati brawl. Says here that the gruesome photos show severely bruised and battered face of the woman who was knocked out during a horrifying, now viral Cincinnati brawl. This is Holly, wrote Ohio Senator Bernardo Moreno as he shared the harrowing images of the victim who was filmed being beaten so badly that he thought she had been, killed, pretty much. She wanted to have a nice evening out with friends. Instead, she got this. This is her face. This is what she looks like. I hate the fact that this comes down and it ruins it. But this is what she looks like, guys. This is what we have here. This is her full image. You can see how badly and swollen her face is on the left side of her, I may believe. And then it's all bad. The grim images show Holly, who was not otherwise identified, with a huge black eye, busted lip, with one showing dark bruises across her entire face and neck. 5 people have since been charged with footage of the attack quickly went viral. The video appeared to show a white man and woman being targeted by a group of largely black assailants. I like how they put white man and woman because this is exactly what it should be called. Goes on to say here, the pair were brutally punched and stomped on as they cowered on the ground. Well, the two men were. The woman was not, but she was punched very, very hard, knocked her out immediately, and hit her head on the hard asphalt. So might as well been beaten on the ground as well at this point. The woman was eventually knocked out cold. When I saw the video, I thought she had been killed. So yeah, this is horrible. Holly gave me permission to release the photos so that others will never suffer what she did, the outraged senator added. Moreno ripped the response from local lawmakers in the wake of the violence, including Cincinnati Councilwoman Victoria Parks, who claimed in a social media post that the victims were asking to be assaulted by the ruthless mob. Yeah, we've been over this yesterday, and this is what's been going on. It says Moreno called the councilwoman and other Democrats to be booted from office as he threatened to cut federal funding for the city if they refused to act. That's huge. That's huge, and that's a threat. So I wonder how these Democrats are going to work if they don't convert funding, and rightfully so, because if you are advocating for the beating of white people or any race for that matter, I don't care if you're black, brown, purple, freaking orange and purple, or the sky, or freaking yellow with a splash of black. I don't care what race you are or what pigment your skin is. If you are advocating for the death or the beating of anybody, you deserve to have your federal funding pulled, especially if it's on due to race. So the fact that these political leaders think are allowing it, like he said, this is what political leaders in Cincinnati are allowing, he raged. These idiotic political leaders that the citizens allow to have office need to go. I 100% agree. I'm going to call on all federal agencies to review the funding that we provide Cincinnati and giving the leaders of Cincinnati 1 month to come up with a plan for them to protect civil rights for their citizens. If they don't do it, I'm going to ask the agencies to suspend all federal funding because we're not going to put up with this. Exactly. They shouldn't, because this is insanity. We do not need to be having this type of racial type of stuff happening. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. The police chief blamed social media. The city council person blamed with the victim. It's crazy. There's a reason why federal funding needs to be pulled. All right, so again, we have this here. Russian woman beaten viral Cincinnati brawl returns home as attacker's family claims her race is dividing national outrage. Now, this is kind of an understanding or going what's happening here. It's similar to this, but there's a bit more updates to this. The woman viciously pummeled in a viral Cincinnati brawl has returned home to Russia, as relatives of one of the attackers claim the brutal beatdown is only drawing national outrage because the victim is white. Well, yeah, of course, because again, it was a whole mob of black people beating on 3 white people. The female victim, identified as Holly by U.S. Senator from Ohio, was left with a gruesome black eye, busted lip, etc., etc. So That's what we have here. So again, there's a bit more. It says the Russian woman was hospitalized with severe injuries and returned to her home country after being released, which means she'll probably never go back to the U.S. again because of the tragic attack. Good job, black people. You've actually hurt immigration. It's actually hilarious. Police said Decker Venom, one of the 5 brawlers arrested and charged, was a bystander watching the fight when she approached the unsuspecting victim and clobbered her to the ground. Yeah, that is pretty wild, to say the least. Now, we have more of this here. See, so we have this here that says she just interjected herself into a brawl on the street. Cincinnati Police Detective Barney Blank said of 24-hour Venom, the outlet reported. Now, I don't see how she interjected herself into a brawl. She just tried to help somebody and she got punched for it. So that's a wild thing here to say. That's what we have. It says the two victims were ruthlessly punched and stomped on the ground as they cowered on the ground, with the woman eventually laid out. So we have that here, but we have a bit more of kind of like what happens here. So what we have here is this. Now we have this here too, but it's pretty much that we're seeing here that the suspects here were just arrested and they've been charged with felony assault and stuff like that. But there's a bit more craziness that's happening here, right? Cincinnati official under fire for sibling brutal attack. They begged for that beatdown. Now, of course, we went over here yesterday of the woman talking about beating down, glorifying and celebrating beating down these white people. That's insane. So that's what we have here. It says here the 67-year-old Democrat angered Cincinnati's police union boss, who blasted Parks for the comments and called for her resignation. It's unsociable that an elected official would be accelerating violence in the very city she was voted to serve. This highlights the poor political environment that police officers, residents, and visitors are currently enduring. Thankfully, there's an election in November. I urge voters to vote for change. I don't know if that's going to actually happen in Cincinnati, but I digress. Cincinnati Victoria Parks must resign immediately. Defending violent criminals who viciously beat innocent people is disgusting. Her words, they begged for that beatdown, are outrageous. Prosecutors must charge the attackers with a hate crime. We must protect our streets. Footage of the early morning viral attack fights breaking out in the middle of a crowd, approximately 100 revelers at the heart of downtown Cincinnati. A white woman a white man and a woman appeared to be realistically targeted by a group of largely black assailants, according to viral footage. This will be known here very quickly here. The 2 victims were brutally punched as they lay defenseless on the ground. We have more issues here. So here's the big thing here, right? Here's the big thing. Police allege Merriweather and Matthews coordinated the ambush attack as they were on Elm and 4th Streets. Ultimately, we do have on video Mr. Merriweather walked up to co-defendant. He whispers something to him, and then he walks back behind the victim. That's wild. And it says, as to Merriweather's involvement in this, we believe he coordinated this with Mr. Matthews. He walked up to him on the video, whispered something to him, and then strategically placed himself behind the victim as the assault began. So this is something here that is massive. This means that this was a planned racial attack, and this was all into her attack white people. That's wild. So they should 100% put hate crime onto this, because that's what this is. This is what is being alleged from the detective here. Now, this is obviously alleged. We don't know how true this is. We need to wait to find out more information, obviously. But from what I'm gathering here, it looks like this was a very highly planned attack, and it ain't looking too great. At least for Merriweather and Matthews. As for everybody else, we'll see. But I don't know how much others will know for this. Parks began serving in her seat in January 2022. She announced she would not be seeking the re-election for this year's general election, and her plans to retire this past January. In her official city biography, Parks says she led the charge in passing racism as a public health crisis when working for Hamilton County. So yeah, you can already tell that this was very racially held here. So yeah, if this was a planned attack, this is a huge problem, and these people need to be put in jail. And I do agree that we had to do something with the politicians here that are pushing for this racism. We can't be having this type of stuff. And if they're not gonna solve the racism issue, then yeah, they need to have federal funding pulled. We shouldn't be advocating for this type of stuff. And I've had somebody that, as of yesterday, mentioned to me about this whole situation. It makes she said that that these people deserved it because of what happened to black people in the past. I'm like, the black people of the past have nothing to do with like the white people in the past has nothing to do with the racism or even slavery that happened in previously before. So this is actually a wild statement to make. I have a serious problem with people like this, and it's an issue. I'll probably be making a separate video on this as well because I have to talk about it, but in my own type of in a different type of format. But you'll see that like this is just insanity here. So at the end of the day, we find out that the woman was severely beaten. She was looks like she was seriously injured. It might the thing that was dripping from her mouth might have been the actual lip bleed, which hopefully that's the case. It doesn't happen to be with does it have to be with cerebral bleeding? But nonetheless, it wasn't good, and this is a huge problem. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.